Hello there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another car video. Women falling for non-select men. You know what? The other day, last week, I had a few women, some conversations with one, correspondence with some other ones, and they were just telling me how they were feeling non-select men, like even in love with them and whatnot. Understand one thing, because I know I get a lot of non-select men, or if people want to use the term beta male on here, and they think they assed out. No, not really. Not really. Now, at most, we always hear about the thing of, alpha males or select men running through these women and then dudes being the cleanup men. That's not always the case, though. That's not always the case. You got situations where a woman will deal with a select man, but not necessarily have the baggage. Or usually it might be like two things, like they'll deal with the select men, right? But, they manage, they got enough sense to use birth control and all of that. And there's no, serious thing. They wasn't really ran through it that, contrary to popular belief, a dude can be an alpha or a select dude and still be in a regular relationship. Not necessarily, I ain't going to say he's going to be totally monogamous. But, he ain't automatically just going to fuck every woman he sees. They're going to be for the... you get some who just want to be in a relationship. And before somebody say that's impossible, keep in mind, if we're going to talk about relationships, we also have to take in mind the religion of the person in it. You get a lot of Christian dudes or Muslim dudes or even Hebrew Israelite type dudes who, they just not inclined to fuck around. It is what it is, Whether or not you don't think you would do it, that's not don't matter. But anyway, you do get some select dudes on that, so and a lot of women to get them. But usually they'll say there was something missing or something like that, right? Because the dudes are usually what they want. They might have the height, the superficial looks, they might have that status or something. They'll deal with it, but then something's missing. And, they'll get out the relationship, but then they'll meet that dude that they might not have given a second look to before, right? They might, the one they wouldn't have chose on the first look, and then they'll say, somehow they'll get to know each other. Usually it might be a friend or a co-worker. They're in a position where the dude can get to know them. And then they'll find out that dude becomes a diamond to them. And that's one of the things I said. I've said before that I started out in this thing. I wrote a pamphlet for women talking about finding a good man. One of the main things I wrote in it was get to know the man. And in fact, I've referenced the book several times that was written in '86, Smart Women, Foolish Choices, written by two psychologists. And both those psychologists said the same thing. Women passing over a lot of good men that they need to take time to get to know. What you have is, you got some women, all these women ain't just dumb and they just tasting a bunch of thugs or something. That thing is overrated anyway. The glasses look a little different. My other ones, they were old and stuff. And these ain't new. I actually got some. I'm going to look a little bit more studious and stuff. Got some thicker glasses I'm going to be wearing and stuff just for driving. That's the only time I really need them. Right? Anyway, a lot of women, you get a lot of women, they want that select dude, but somehow they meet that non-select dude. They get to know him. They see other sides of him. He basically grows on them. And no, it ain't what people say in this game and all that out here, right? But, real life, man, people don't always meet each other online or, pull up to them in the streets, man. A lot of people just meet on jobs, man. Despite all this Me Too stuff, people still want to meet on jobs. Or they meet in a social situation. Heck, I mentioned religion. They could meet at the mosque or the church, the temple, shrine, whatever, events. And then, if a person in a position where they can talk with somebody, everything, and especially with women, many of women have come back and told me they met some dude, they didn't think much of him at first, right? They didn't think much of him, but then they got to know him, and, even though he wasn't their quote-unquote type, he made them feel good, he made them laugh, they, found out this dude cared about him, and then they started to feel him. And then another thing, they feel him enough to have sex with him, and their mind's blown, and then they like, shit. Because that's the bottom line with a lot of women. Because when they go for, I'm just saying something, when women go for the select man, it ain't necessarily because he's an alpha. I mean, maybe in a social sense, but more often women go for the select man because he fits the image of what society says they should want. When you get women who say they want a doctor or a lawyer, they ain't talking about his character. So if they meet a doctor or a lawyer, they get all excited until they get to know him. That's the essence of being a masked man. They looking at that mask, not the person. And usually when they get to know that person, they're like, well, damn, we're not really compatible. That happens a lot. That's why when you see a dude, that's why you see some dudes, they like conspicuously handsome, got some height, got some money and stuff, and shoot, that woman cheating on him with somebody with a gold tooth. Because the gold tooth dude made him feel good. So a lot of times, see, the thing is, I think too many dudes get caught up in that whole beta non-select thing anyway. Because the shit is relative. And I've said this before in a video. A dude could be select to like one woman and non-select to another woman. The thing every man has to do, regardless of how women in general see him, is do him. And just be his best self. And you still, and honestly, it ain't even a question of you trying to convince the woman. In fact, I caution against that. Don't try to convince the woman of your worth. A mentor would say, just said this past weekend, he says, shit. He just present what he got to present. Let her make the choice. Because, and that happens a lot. I've seen situations where a woman, she ain't feeling the guy at first, and then they like, it's something about him. And the dude ain't all that or anything. He just doing his thing. But, all of a sudden, he started tugging at their heart a little bit. So it happens a lot. Now, here's the thing. And it's something to consider about the whole non-select thing anyway. And like I was saying about people flowing between it. Everybody's a Mr. Goodbar to somebody. And plus women, I'm going to tell you what. A lot of people want to think women stupid and all that. They ain't that stupid. A lot of women way more pragmatic than they're given credit for. A woman knows she can't really, she knows that if she's chasing like these dreams and these fantasies and stuff and the shit ain't working for her, some of them get some sense. And I do emphasize some of them because, like I said, I've known and met women in their 50s, 60s and stuff still looking for Mr. Right, still looking for Prince Charming. But you get a lot of women who get off of that, and once women become more realistic in how they choosing a man, once they get to that point, all of a sudden, I'm gonna be honest, all that select, non-select, alpha, beta kind of go out the door with the woman, and she started thinking in terms of the best guy for her. And contrary to popular belief, it ain't always like she just, she got ran through or something. Shoot, you do have like plenty of sensible women out there. You got plenty of sensible women, and really some of them, depending on where they grew up at, they got some sense anyway. They try to latch on early to like a decent dude. Like you get a lot of women, you get some sensible women, like in the hood, right? I met a lot of sisters, black women, I'm gonna say specifically black women, who might have grew up in the hood, but they trying to do something, so they knew not to get with certain type of dudes anyway, even if they had one experience. And one thing too, it's not a bad thing to deal with a woman after she's dealt with a select dude. Some dudes be like, nah, I can't deal with it anymore. She been with that select dude. I can't do that and all that. Or even with the imprint thing. One, you don't know if that select dude actually satisfied her. Two, the reality is, unless you find a 14-year-old somewhere in some third world country and shit, ain't no virgins out there. So you just got to, the thing you got to look for is whether or not she got any baggage that can be a long-term problem. That's all. I mean, seriously, anybody trying to find some virgin or something, man, you might, I don't know, dog. You kind of in trouble. That ain't happening out here. You just want to make sure ain't no baggage that can come back and haunt you. That's all you can really look for. But it's not a bad thing if she's dealt with even a bad boy or some dude who's like generally select, because then usually when they go through that, and this some old school player wisdom, man, usually they go through that and then they learn they can develop an appreciation. Some of them can develop an appreciation for a dude who might not be all of that, but is actually got his other shit developed and actually has more substance. People can't appreciate something unless, hey, look, this is just real talk. People cannot appreciate something unless they've seen or got a contrast with something else. The bad shit. So you kind of want that, like I said, but don't trip like she been with some other dude. As long as that dude, she went with that dude while you were trying to holler at her. But anyway, it can happen, man. Don't get too caught up into it. Don't get too caught up into it, because I just did a video on the cheat code for mating. Sometimes you just meet somebody, you just click. So anyway, right, that's it for today. I'm gonna go out here and get my sweat on. All right, I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.